Meticulously, they completed a total engine change in time for round one. But as they headed for their first confrontation of the day, there existed more questions than answers about the eventual success of their efforts. Everyone felt the pressure.
Clutch is brand new. All the fuel pumps are brand new. The blower, I mean, everything on the car, it's like a brand new race car. We're going first round without starting it.
Then, just as they were ready to face round one, Amato and company had their attention drawn to the efforts of West Coast campaigner Russ Collins as he met #1 qualifier and Winston points leader Don Prudhomme. Overpowering the track in the near lane, the philosophical snake responded much as you would expect from a 25-year veteran.
It's just things that happened, you know. We're racing number 16 car, and we smoked the tires, and I'd have got back with it, but it shook me so bad by the time I got my vision and stuff and found out where I was at. It was just too late, and of course, I guess he had trouble to shut off or something. It's just the way the mop flops.
Now, more pressure had been brought to bear. With Prudhomme gone, Amato stood a chance to secure the points lead. But first, against great odds, he had to take a totally unproven car and plunge 1,320 feet. Not only did Amato and company beat the odds, but Tim Richards broke the bank. A blistering 4:96 elapsed time victory moved his driver to the top of the Winston points chase.
I caused it by myself by being forgetful, but my guys, I mean, what can I say? They are as good as they come.
As good as they come. The National Hot Rod Association presents Championship Drag Racing on ESPN Speed World. The NHRA, the world's largest motorsport sanctioning body, showcasing speeds in excess of 290 miles an hour and traveling the quarter mile in less than 5 seconds. Championship Drag Racing from the NHRA. With $18 million in overall prize money, the NHRA Winston Championship Series today makes its 11th stop in Sonoma, California at Sears Point International Raceway. The most disappointed man here today has got to be the owner and driver of this top fuel dragster, Don Prudhomme. That first round loss by Prudhomme that we saw just a few moments ago cost him the Winston Top Fuel Points lead. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and welcome to Sears Point International Raceway and the 4th annual running of the Autolite California Nationals. The Winston Funny Car Points lead could change hands today as well. For more on that story, here's my good friend Steve Evans.
David, over in the funny car pits, the wrenches, they are a-flying in the camp of 21-year-old tour rookie Del Worsham. Now, nobody expects this young man from California to win a Winston championship, but the impact he's having on the category cannot be overstated. He has won 2 races this year. He didn't backdoor either one of them. He won with driving prowess and lots of performance. Performance in round number 1, his 5:30 quicker than his opponent's 5:33 for round number 2. So, Del, you've got lane choice, a big ace in the hole. Does John Force intimidate you at all?
Yeah, a little bit, except for I can't wait to race him. You know, he's a world champ, and nothing will be beating him.
And one of your heroes, you've told me before.
Oh, yeah, he's him, Don Prudhomme, and Kenny Bernstein are my 3 heroes.
I'll tell you, before it's over, he may get to all of them in this career.
Steve, the enthusiasm of youth, 21-year-old Del Worsham. On the top fuel points board at the moment, Joe Amato has the lead by 2 points over Don Prudhomme. Kenny Bernstein's in 3rd, Frank Hawley 4th, Lori Johns is number 5. Here you see what happened in round number 1 of Top Fuel Eliminator. Of course, we saw Russ Collins beat the low qualifier Don Prudhomme. Thus, in round number 2, it will be Collins against a former funny car star, Tom McEwen, winner of the Summer Nationals. Lori Johns races Corey McLenithan in the 2nd round. Joe Amato, with his victory over the Hammer Time Special of Maurice DuPont, earned the right to race Dick LaHaie, while Frank Hawley will go against Kenny Bernstein. Before we get to the 2nd round racing in Top Fuel Eliminator, in qualifying here at Sonoma, Jack Ostrander took the spotlight. As the Lynch and Ostrander Top Fuel dragster approached the finish line, problems set in. The engine exploded. That in turn blew a tire, the left rear. That sent him into the concrete barrier. Even after the impact with the wall, the car continued on down track, a ball of fire. From another angle, you can see exactly what happened in sequence. The engine let go. Then the tire exploded. And from this point on, Jack Ostrander was just a passenger. As the car made the sharp right-hand turn into the concrete barricade, the flames roared forward, enveloping the roll cage. After the accident, Steve talked to the NHRA doctor on track.
He's moving everything and, responding appropriately, and I think he's going to be just fine. But he's got to recover from the burns and things first, so that's the major concern now.
The update on Jack Ostrander: he was released from the hospital at 10:30 the night of the accident, flew home to Pontiac, Michigan the next day, suffering from burns on the right arm and hand, and about the face and eyes. Now it's time for Top Fuel Racing round number 2 at the Autolite California Nationals. Here is Tom McEwen, driving the Mobil 1 dragster owned by the Boston Red Sox baseball star Jack Clark. His competition in the Bill Miller engineering car is the spoiler Russ Collins. Collins qualified 16th and has already ruined Don Prudhomme's day. Now he wants to stop Tom McEwen. McEwen's got the lane choice by virtue of a quicker elapsed time in round number 1 of 5:13 when he beat Scott Coletta. McEwen on paper got to be the favorite. He qualified with a 5:07. Collins using the Arius engine, the only Top Fuel dragster to run this type of race motor. A tremendous lead off the starting line and a big victory for Tom McEwen, and a great time, 5:01 at 280 miles an hour, putting him into the Final Four. The 1991 NHRA Autolite California Nationals is being brought to you by Goodyear, the choice of more racing champions than any other make of tire. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Autolite spark plugs, guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go. More from Sonoma, California in just a moment.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
At the Autolite California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway, the work is going on by Bernie Federle. He is the crew chief on Ed McCulloch's race car, and McCulloch stunned everybody in round number 1 with a great 5:27, low ET thus far of funny car eliminations. We're in round 2 racing of Top Fuel Eliminator, and out on the track, Laurie Johns and Corey McLenathan. After taking a several race layoff to build a new car, Corey McLenathan and his crew chief, you see him right there, Wayne Dupuy, have come back in fine style. They qualified in the number 5 spot with a great 5:01. McLenathan, at the age of 28, another of the rising young stars in Top Fuel Racing. He defeated another young star, Doug Herbert, in round number 1 racing. His competition is Laurie Johns. Her Jolly Rancher Candy Special had trouble in early qualifying, exploding 2 engines. Then she came back with Ronnie Swearingen, her crew chief, turning the wrenches to a 4:99. But in round 1, fell off to a 5:18. McLenathan had a 5:07. He got the lane choice. And he blows the tires off of it. Laurie Johns to the finish line, 5:06. Her mom's happy. And that time will not give her the lane choice in the Final Four. It goes to Tom McEwen. Most of the racers are taking the lane nearest the camera, as the far lane has a bit of a bump in it. It's hard to tell what goes on in the mind of Joe Amato because you can't see through those glasses. He's got to be thinking about the job done by his crew, not only for the 496 in the first round, but getting this car ready for round number 2 racing against this man, Dick LaHaie. Here's Joe Amato. We're riding along with our in-car camera that has gotten a liberal shot of nitromethane right on the lens. Let's go down to the far end of the racetrack. Steve Evans is with Laurie Johns.
Well, Laura, you started this race in qualifying, exploding motors, but now you're back on your pace, a 5:06.
Wonderful, and we lost a blowout right before the lights. That probably was about a 5:04. You know, aside from owing that one to my crew for getting everything back together, I kind of owe it to Linda Vaughn. Had a terrible migraine headache all day. She came over, put ice on my neck, and rubbed my neck and said, go get them. So here I am.
Linda Vaughn, a great friend to all of us in drag racing.
Hey, Steve, I feel a headache coming on. The latest headache for Joe Amato is backing up after his burnout, Dick LaHaie. It was 3 weeks ago at the Summer Nationals that LaHaie applied a little starting line psychology and possibly caused Amato to red light. Here, LaHaie qualified with a 5:04 and beat Eddie Hill in round number 1. While Amato ran a 4:95 to qualify in the number 2 spot. And as we saw, he beat Maurice DuPont with that great 4:96, which has to be dedicated to his crew for all the work they went through in an hour and 15 minutes to get that race car ready after exploding the engine in the pits in the warm-up prior to round number 1. Both cars set. We're on board with Joe Amato. By a car length, it is Amato, and again, a 4:96. Speed of 285 miles an hour. LaHaie close at a 5:10. Watch in replay. You see LaHaie getting about a 300th of a second advantage off the starting line. But it wasn't long before the freight train called Amato came thundering by, continued to extend his lead until at the finish line, 1,320 feet away, more than a car length victory.
The first 4:96, well, that was amazing after all your trouble in the pits, but now another 4:96 heat of the day. That's performance.
Yeah, that's Tim Richards and the crew with this team valving car. They're just doing an outstanding job every round, you know. I've got the best brain surgeons in the world.
LaHaie may have a little better start. It didn't take you long to cover him, though.
Well, you know, we had a little bit of a shootout at the Summer Nationals. I didn't want to be too jumpy. I just wanted to try and be steady up there, and hopefully it worked out.
Headed for the Final Four, Joe Amato. Good luck.
Thank you.
Remarkable performances, considering the fact that not a single 4-second elapsed time had been turned at Sears Point International Raceway prior to this event. A huge crowd jammed into this facility located northeast of San Francisco, watching as Kenny Bernstein in the far lane backs up to challenge the Darrell Gwynn car driven by Frank Hawley. Jerry, Darrell's dad, out in front, directing traffic for the operator of the drag racing school down in Gainesville, Florida. The Budweiser King, Kenny Bernstein, has a chance to make up some ground on Don Prudhomme, who's now in second in the Winston points lead. Every round you win is worth 200 points, and with Prudhomme going out in the first round, Bernstein, the number 6 qualifier at a 5:03, has a big chance right now. The Coors Light Silver Bullet with Frank Hawley at the wheel, qualified third. He is one of those cars with a 4-second time turned this weekend. He beat Cruz Pendragon in round number 1. And Kenny Bernstein goes up in smoke as Frank Hawley heads to the finish line and a place in the Final Four. It is Bernstein that has got to be disappointed. His opportunity to gain ground on Prudhomme to pick up some very valuable Winston Series points disappearing in that cloud of tire smoke. Let's watch again. As the tree flashed green, it was almost instantaneous. Bernstein losing traction right at the starting line, while Hawley marched on to the finish and a Final Four appearance against Joe Amato. Amato holding lane choice in the Final Four. The other side of the ladder finds a rematch of the Summer Nationals final round. Tom McEwen against Laurie Johns. McEwen having the lane choice. Funny cars next at the California Nationals. Side by side, the 4,500 horsepower funny cars of NHRA Winston Championship Drag Racing. We're at the Autolite California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway, where there's quite a battle going on in the Winston Funny Car points chase. John Force has got the lead, but Mike Dunn could surpass him this weekend. Jim White in third, Mark Oswald is fourth, and Ed McCulloch fifth. Here's what happened in round number 1. Mike Dunn earned the right to race against Whit Bazemore, while John Force has the chance to meet Del Worsham. In round number 2 of the other half of the ladder, Jim White will race against Al Hoffman, who qualified in the number 7 spot, while the number 3 qualifier, Mark Oswald, tangles with the number 6 qualifier, Ed McCulloch. McCulloch is the interesting story. He had low ET of round number 1, a brilliant 5:27. Here's the first pair of our second round of racing, with Bazemore in the far lane already pre-staged. While his competition, Mike Dunn, the body's up, his dad's under there making some adjustments to the fuel system. Dunn, the new track record holder, he qualified first at a 5:25. Bazemore qualified number 8 at his quickest time in his career with the Permatex Pontiac. That's official starter Buster Couch making a point to a crewman on Bazemore's car about his staging procedures. Dunn obviously unruffled, he's just taking his time. Now he is pre-staged. Shortly, both cars will roll forward. When that second light at the top of the starting line device, the Christmas tree, comes on, they're ready. Great race until something goes wrong in Bazemore's car. And it is another win for Mike Dunn. 5:41 is the elapsed time. 270 miles an hour, maybe off pace just a little bit in the elapsed time department. Here is John Force, the Castrol GT Exosmobile, the body coming down, getting ready for his burnout, and you have a real treat. You're riding on board inside that car with John Force. His competition is Del Worsham, and by virtue of a quicker elapsed time, Worsham has the lane choice. Let's go for a ride with the reigning Winston champion, Big John Force. Now you see it from the driver's point of view, and that's why the crowd just loves John Force and his burnouts. Steve?
Well, what Bazemore trying to stage while Mike Dunn was still backing up didn't rattle you one bit. That was a little too obvious.
Yeah, we just kind of run our own race. You know, if he wanted to speed up a little bit more, that's fine. We just, you know, we're just trying to run our race and win each round.
A 5:41, about what you thought, or maybe a little off?
No, it definitely fell off. It dropped some cylinders. We probably got a little bit of a break there. We're definitely going to have to see what, we got a problem here. We're going to have to see what it is, and hopefully we can step her up for the next round.
Get back there and find it.
Thank you.
Steve, obviously Mike Dunn's aware that that 5:41 is very vulnerable to one of these two race cars, because the winner of this match will race Dunn in the final 4. Worsham holding the lane choice. He's taken the lane nearest the camera. He had a 5:30 when he defeated Jerry Caminito in the first round. Meantime, Force, off his 5:32 qualifying time, ran a 5:33 to beat Gary Densham in his first round race. Now Force has got to confront the bump that is in that far lane. And these shorter wheelbase cars, in relation to the top fuel dragsters, for example, have much more difficulty negotiating the bump in the racetrack. Force just hazing the tires, recovers, and drives through to take the win. Force, by virtue of an advantage off the starting line and some brilliant driving, had a slower elapsed time, but yet got to the finish line first. Let's watch again. Force reacted quicker to the green light. His reaction time nearly 0.03 of a second quicker than that of Del Worsham. Then just as he goes over the bump, the car unloads, the tires smoke just a bit, but John Force recovered very quickly and drives away from Del Worsham. His elapsed time, 5:38. Worsham, a 5:36. The margin of victory at the finish line, 20 thousandths of a second. It was driving skill that won that race for John Force.
Well, John Force just sent Del Worsham to school on the starting line. Whole shot victory.
Coyle had me for an hour out there on the starting line trying to find that hump out there. And I looked and looked, and I saw it. He said, "You're going to be in trouble. You got to pedal her. If she gets up in the nose, we'll smoke the tires." And the kid was just flat out running us. He'd been my interference here. If he had got around me, I figured he could take Dunn out, and I was counting on it. So either way, I didn't think we could lose, but she had the front end up, and God knows what happened, but she recovered and drove around him.
You were wired to the tree.
Wired? Are you kidding me? You bet.
John Force, consistently the best interview in drag racing. Larry Meyer, the crew chief, working away on Tom McEwen's top fuel dragster for the race against Lori Johns. Now let's go to Joe Amato's pit area and Steve Evans.
Dave, a quick addendum to the miracle of Amato's story from earlier today. Everybody is familiar with Joe Amato's superstitions and all of the lucky charms he carries, his Snoopy underwear, among other things. Well, this weekend, some fans gave Joe a 5-leaf clover. You can barely see the 5th leaf in there. He was carrying that in his fire suit on that first 496 run, and apparently it's still working. On the second 496 run, take a look at the valve. Look how that head is bent. It was about ready to snap off, which would have turned another engine to dust. Do you think Joe will ever drive without this again? I don't.
Steve, pretty soon Joe's going to have extra pockets made into his fire suit for his superstition charms. Here's Bernie Federle, the crew chief, on Ed McCulloch's Otter Pops funny car. The Oldsmobile being backed up into its own tracks. On the far lane, you see Mark Oswald doing the same under the direction of Bill Schultz, his crew chief. The In-N-Out Burger Pontiac qualified third at a 5:31, beat Jim Epler in his first round race, while McCulloch was qualified sixth at a 5:37 and used that quick time of elimination, the 5:27, to put away Paula Martin in the first round. The lane choice going to McCulloch. He, as all of the quick racers have done, has selected the lane nearest the camera. Both cars ready. A red light for Mark Oswald. He left too soon, then smoked the tires, and McCulloch across the finish line with a 5:35, 271 miles an hour. Quick time of this round of eliminations for Funny Car. As McCulloch marches into the final four, his opponent there will be the winner of this next race, which pits the Blower Drive Service Ford Chrome of Al Hoffman, who holds the lane choice. He is in the near lane, going off against Jim White, driving Roman Leong's Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona. Coming into this race, White was third in the Winston point standings. He is trying to keep pace with the leaders, John Force and Mike Dunn. Let's go to the far end.
Well, Ed McCulloch, overnight, this car went from a poodle to a pit bull. 27 in round one of 35 on a hot racetrack.
Well, Steve, you know, we were behind the, the 8-ball coming in here. We hurt the motor early. And, we just worked out. We had to back up and, start forward. But, we're glad to be here at Sears Point and, get our act back together somewhat. And, maybe we can get the Otter Pop souls in the winner's circle.
Definitely back on track. McCulloch, he too headed for the final four.
You remember the battle waged a year ago between McCulloch and John Force for the Winston title. Could it be the ace is making a charge? Helen Hoffman looking on as her husband Al backs up after his burnout. Hoffman surprised everybody in the first round. After a 5:43 qualifying time, he improved drastically with a 5:37, and that earned him lane choice over Jim White, who was able to run only a 5:54 in his first round win over Tom Hoover. So while White had qualified quicker at a 5:30, he was unable to deliver in the first round. Now it is Hoffman's chance to surprise once again. The lane choice here at Sears Point may be a little bit more important than it has been in some of the previous races this season. Hoffman hopes to take full advantage of it. But it is Hoffman that goes up in smoke, getting out of shape, and Jim White goes on for the victory. 5:52 is the last time. He won't earn himself any lane choice with that, but he did get the round victory and is keeping pace with the leaders in the Winston points chase. For Al Hoffman, it has to be a disappointment, particularly after that great 5:37 in the first round. Here's the way they match up for the final four. John Force and Mike Dunn, the two leaders in the Winston points chase. Force with the lane choice. Jim White against Ed McCulloch, the ace picking the lane in that match. Meanwhile, in the top fuel pit area, while crew chief Ronnie Swearingen gets the car ready, driver Laurie Johns gets a chance to sign some autographs. Final four in Pro Stock Eliminator, where his competition will be Ricky Smith. Alderman has a light year's lead on Warren Johnson for the Winston points chase. Bob Glidden, Scott Jeffreyon, and Jerry Ekman all lost in round number one. Johnson, the only driver with a chance to earn a few points on the leader. Here's the way Warren got to the final four. He had the low ET of the meet in the second round when he beat Bruce Allen. Larry Morgan was the #1 qualifier, only 1,000th of a second slower than Johnson's quick time. The other side of the ladder, Alderman and Smith. Here's how they made their way to the Final Four. Alderman, while he's been dominant all season long, has certainly not been the premier star in pro stock at this event. He has had difficulty getting the Dodge Daytona to couple up to the ground. Ricky Smith has used some brilliant reaction times to earn his way into this Final Four. Smith has 0.07 of a second advantage on Bob Clinton to take the first round victory. Darrell Alderman, meantime, defeated Gordy Rivera and Jim Yates in his previous rounds here. And we're riding on board with Alderman in the Mopar Parts Dodge Daytona. Keep your eye on the center of the screen of that onboard camera. You can watch Alderman's right hand pull the levers on the Lenco transmission, shifting the gears. Now he's into high, thundering for the finish line with a Carling victory over Ricky Smith, and he won it on a hole shot. 0.02 of a second quicker off the starting line, 0.02 of a second quicker at the finish line, 0.04 the margin of victory. Watch again in replay. You saw the Dodge in the far lane move just a little bit quicker. This time he got a pretty good grip on the pavement. This very short wheelbase Daytona likes the super biting racetrack. And unfortunately, here in the heat of the day, Sears Point doesn't have all the traction this Dodge needs. Alderman, the winner, into the finals.
No matter how many hole shot victories Ricky Smith may get during the course of a day, you are always ready for him.
Well, you better be ready for Ricky Smith when you pull up beside him, because Ricky's real good at the starting line, and I knew I had to be on time.
But you drilled him on both ends of the racetrack, a 7:28.
Yeah, well, that's what we run around before. It's hard for us to get through that bump.
See you the finals.
Thank you.
Well, Darrell ran the 7:28. Both of the cars coming up next have run even quicker. The two Oldsmobiles, the two quickest cars on this racetrack, each with a 7:23. And by 1,000th of a second, the AC Delco Olds of Warren Johnson is currently the quickest car. He is running against the Castrol car owned by Bob Padella and driven by Larry Morgan, who qualified in the #1 spot. His competition, Johnson, qualified 4th, then ran that brilliant 7:23 in the second round to earn the lane choice here in the Final Four against Morgan. The interesting thing to note, like Alderman before him, who also had lane choice, Johnson has selected the far lane, the one with a bump. Baby has just a little bit more traction and provides quicker elapsed times. And it is Larry Morgan into the final round. His crew chief, Gary Pearman, very happy over that. 7:24. That gives him the choice of lanes. His speed, a thundering 192 miles an hour. A very slight advantage off the starting line was gained by Warren Johnson in the far lane. But by the middle of the race course, Morgan had pulled alongside, and then as he shifted into 5th gear, he just drove away from Warren Johnson. A car length plus separating the two. So the finals in pro stock at the Autolite California Nationals, Darrell Alderman against Larry Morgan, the Oldsmobile with the lane choice. Steve?
Horsepower and more horsepower. That's the story of Larry Morgan going into the final round at a 7:24. You put the Dodge on the bump, and he hates that lane.
Well, I'll tell you, I made the right move that time in the bell housing, and hopefully we can do well here. This is Pinella's hometown, or this is where Pinella's from. I sure would like to win for him.
Hope you can do it, Larry.
In Pro Stock Eliminator, at least we've had a winner in each lane, giving the appearance that maybe the lanes have equaled out just a little bit. Lori John certainly hopes so. In her upcoming race, she does not have the choice against Tom McEwen.
Of Budweiser. Flexor muscles just missed qualifying, but surely there's a lot of good news on the horizon. Tell your fans.
Well, we obtained major sponsorship, and I want to tell you it's major, from Petromali. They're from Sugar Land, Texas. A great bunch of people. They like us. They love the sport, and they're gonna be here for a long time. So it's a major sponsorship. It's a long-term thing, and it's something I waited 33 years for.
Great news for all of us that love this sport.
We're thrilled. We're gonna go get fitted for our new car, and we'll be at the World Finals. I'm not sure we're going to have it there, but watch out. We're going to be back.
Look forward to it.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve, it's great news that one of the sport's finest drivers is back behind the wheel again. Right now, Laurie Johns in the far lane of the Jolly Rancher Candy's car has got to confront, once again, the Mobile One dragster of Tom McEwen. 3 weeks ago, McEwen won the race at the Summer Nationals, outperforming a very strong Laurie Johns. Both cars coming into the staging beam. And Laurie Johns with a tremendous hole shot. Laurie Johns goes into the finals, and Tom McEwen has just got to be beating himself over that reaction time, over 4/10 of a second advantage to Laurie Johns. You just can't win with that kind of time. Back in the funny car pit area, that's John Force inside the Castrol Olds. He's warming up the race car, getting ready for the final 4 match, which could be one of the most important of the Winston season. He is racing his arch rival, Mike Dunn, who is second to fourth in the point standings at the moment. Here now comes Joe Amato, the reigning champion and the man that has got the big lead. The Team Valvoline car in this final 4 going up against Frank Hawley, the Coors Light Silver Bullet, owned by Darrell Gwynn. While Amato may have lane choice, both drivers know each lane capable of holding a 5-0. Steve?
Well, so ends the Jack Clark batting 1,000, thanks to this young lady, Laurie Johns. You were alert on the starting line, and he wasn't. Simple as that.
Well, it's just my lucky day. You know, some days are diamonds and some days are stones, and we got a diamond today. I hope that our luck continues. We've been awfully lucky today and awfully good. I tell you what, these guys on my crew right here have done an unbelievable job. They have been working themselves to death, and the tribute goes to them.
Amen to that. Would you take the opposite lane of the one you were just in if you had lane choice?
I don't make those decisions. Ronnie does.
What do you think, Ronnie?
Yes. She saved us that time. Thanks.
A simple yes from Ronnie Swearingen. They would like to avoid that bump in the far lane.
Steve, they can only hope that the choice will be theirs. Back at the starting line, here's the onboard camera on Joe Amato's car, and you can see what nitromethane does to those very sensitive lens coatings. The burnout procedures completed. Jerry Gwynn walking away as Frank Hawley brings Darrell's car to the starting line. Hawley has got to be asking himself, can he get a break, as Laurie Johns did in the previous race? He does not. Going up in smoke is Hawley and Joe Amato into the finals with yet another 4. This one for low ET of the race and the 50 bonus points that go with it. A 493 and 284. Hawley had a slight hole shot, but it all went for naught as Amato thunders into the finals, earning lane choice in the process against Laurie Johns. Meanwhile, in the Hawaiian Fun Pit area, crew chief Roland Leong directing the operation, reassembling the engine on Jim White's Dodge, while Paul Lesage, Team Torch, re-welds the wheelie bars. Let's go to Steve.
Be honest with me. When that motor exploded in the pits this morning, did you think you and I would be talking this late in the afternoon?
No, I thought my 4-leaf clover was going to let me, 5-leaf clover was going to let me down, and Snoopy and the whole 9 yards, because, you know, it was a lot of pressure. I was up there pacing. I'm usually pretty cool. But, you know, I figured, oh, this is going to be one of them days, you know. Bernstein had bad luck all weekend. I thought it was coming over from under his trailer because he was parked next door, but luckily it's working out pretty good.
I'll say this. Where can you get one of those 5-leaf clovers? You know, I need a day like Joe Amato's.
Here in Funny Car Eliminator, coming up here in the final 4 of the Autolite California Nationals, as the Winston Points champion and current leader John Ford goes off against the guy that is making the run for the lead, Mike Dunn. Austin Coyle, the crew chief for Ford, underneath the body, making a final adjustment on the fuel injection, the fuel delivery system. As these two drivers get ready for this important race, we want to take a moment to invite you to join the National Hot Rod Association. For only $45 a year, you get 48 issues of National Dragster, a pad, pin, rule book, and a whole lot more. And if you order by calling the number on your screen, you'll get a free copy of Diamond P's home video Drag Racing 90. Call today. It was just 1 round to go when John Force earned the lane choice for the Castrol Olds. His time was a 5:38. For Dunn, his Dodge fell off to a 5:41. And as we heard him say, they had to find some power somewhere. The question is, were they able to do it? smoking the tires, and John Force goes into the final round. It was again a brilliant driving job by Force, smoking the tires to a 5:44 at 275-mile-an-hour victory. Let's take a look at this one. In replay, you see the advantage at the starting line going to Mike Dunn. A big hole shot. But then he hits the bump, but so does John Force. Both cars lose traction at almost the identical time. Force was able to recover and power his way to the finish line and into the finals. Back in the top fuel pit area, there's lots of work going on. It's another engine change in Joe Amato's Team Valvoline Special. The crew once again manhandling a race engine in between the frame rails. These guys have got to be getting tired. There's been a lot of physical work going on in this pit area, and it is a hot day here at Sears Point near Sonoma. There's hot action out on the racetrack, too, as the burnout's underway in the final four of Funny Car. You just saw it, McCulloch. Here's his opponent, Jim White. Let's go down to Steve with John Force.
You didn't sound like you lifted much.
Didn't want to lift. Peddler just a shade, but you can't lift against Dunn. I figured this is it, buddy. Your one chance to hang on to the lead for one more weekend to Seattle. And old man, come on. Love you, buddy.
Steve, it can get hazardous down there. You got to watch out for the flailing Force. John Force into the finals. His opponent will be one of these two drivers, either Ed McCulloch or Jim White. On paper, McCulloch's got to be considered the favorite, but the way this day has gone, who knows who's going to win? Both cars are staged. And a great race until something goes wrong for White. And car owner Larry Minor obviously enjoying the moment as Ed McCulloch goes in and earns lane choice in the finals against John Force. His time of 5:36 at 271 miles an hour. McCulloch making the charge we talked about earlier and looking very serious here at the California National. Serious is hardly the word to describe the work that's gone on Joe Amato's car. Tim Richards and crew working their magic once again, getting this race car set for the final. Steve?
You love to race John Force.
John and I, we've been having a lot of fun here lately. We've been running together a lot.
You've become friends.
We actually have. I mean, a year and a half ago, we were mortal enemies. I didn't want to talk to him. He didn't want to talk to me. We're pals, but I'm telling you, we're going to have a good final.
Can't add much to that.
Steve, we're looking forward to it as the Pro Stock finals are next. When the Autolite California Nationals near Sears Point, there's lots of work in Laurie Johnston area. They're changing an engine too, but in a quest for more horsepower. There was nothing wrong with the other one. They just feel this is a better engine and can make more power in the final round confrontation with Joe Amato. Here is Darrell Alderman. He's completed his burnout. It's not a California fog that has rolled inside the Mopar Parts Dodge Daytona. This is his opponent, Larry Morgan, at the wheel of Bob Pinella's Castrol GTX Oldsmobile. Morgan has the lane choice. He has selected the lane nearest the camera. But while Alderman won in that lane, the far side of the track in the previous round, he still is not happy with it because of the bump. All over the lane is Darrell Alderman. You saw the driving job he did, and it was enough to keep him ahead of Larry Morgan. An upset victory as Darrell Alderman goes to the winner's circle in Pro Stock Eliminator. His elapsed time, 7.30 seconds. And once again, he rose to the occasion with the reaction time he needed. As we watch in replay, he got off the starting line nearly 0.06 of a second quicker than Morgan. His elapsed time as they headed down the racetrack was only 7.30. Morgan was much quicker and nearly 2 miles an hour faster at a 7:25, 191.85. The margin of victory, only 0.05 of a second. That's close racing. Let's go down to the far end of the racetrack and join Steve Evans with our champion.
Well, that's why they pay you the big bucks. You know that?
Well, I'll tell you, that was really a close race there. I knew I was going to have to be on time against Larry. And
you had your back against the wall a little bit.
I definitely did, and went out there in second gear, and it got to moving around a little bit with me, and he started easing back on me on the other end. We're just very fortunate to win.
Well, your 730 beat his 725. You won this one for the team.
Well, I like to win that way. I'd like to dedicate this race to Dave Hutchins. He's 39 today, and thank my sponsors, Mopar, Dodge Motorsports.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thank you.
David Hutchins, the co-crew chief on that Dodge Daytona. Larry Morgan coming over to offer his congratulations to Darrell Alderman. A brilliant driving job by Alderman. That's also why he has got such a whopping lead in the Winston Points Championship. He has won 7 races this year. Somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 horsepower are thundering away on the starting line at Sears Point International Raceway as John Force in the Castrol Olds gets ready to challenge the Otter Pops Oldsmobile driven by Ed McCulloch. Bernie Federley, the crew chief for McCulloch. Austin Coyle, the crew chief for John Force. That's Coyle underneath the body making that final adjustment as he does before every run. These two guys are regarded as some of the best nitro mechanics in the business today. Force does not have lane choice. He is in the far lane of the racetrack. McCulloch has seen a resurgence at this event, bringing back memories of 1990 when he had such outstanding performances, including elapsed times down in the teens. You're on board with John Force. Smoke in the tires, but McCulloch does it worse, and Force wins the race. Both cars losing traction, but again, John Force able to recover and driving through to a 5:56, 269-mile-an-hour victory. In replay, you can see exactly what happened. McCulloch got a little over 200ths of a second advantage at the starting line, then watched it disappear instantly when his tires lost traction. Force also had problems keeping the car glued to the pavement, but he was able to get back on the throttle and stay well ahead of McCulloch, who was forced to shut off when he smoked the tires. Force, the champion.
They're going to have to put a new steering wheel on this car because, John Force, you just flat wore it out. The drive of your life, buddy. Come here. Got to get those daughters first. Come here, Ashley. Ashley, Brittany, and Courtney, ABC.
Tell you a little secret here. There are no secrets. These guys have worked real hard, and I'm all calm now because it's a good feeling. Ed McCulloch and his family are great people. They do a good job. We're trying to win a championship. But I want to say thanks to all my sponsors, my crew, my wife, everyone here that I love, the Winston people, Fram Autolite for this race, Castrol, especially, Jolly Rancher after all the years, the wax shop. And something I'd like to say that I was working for all weekend that I'm really sincere about. Because with all the problems going around, just to say that we're all well and we can be here and race is what really matters. All of our good friends, Joe Paisano passed away. I want to tell his family and him that we love him. I want to say to my teammate, who I miss a lot, because me and the guys are tired of carrying the ball, Ormsby, get back here, get well, because this race was for you, because we love you and we miss you.
Celebrate with your family. Lori, congratulations.
John, of course, referring to his top fuel teammate, Gary Ormsby, who is currently undergoing radiation treatment for an abdominal tumor, and our best wishes and prayers go out as well. John Force with a big lead now over Mike Dunn. Jim White third in the Winston point standing. McCulloch has moved up to fourth. Mark Oswald down to fifth. We'll be right back with the top fuel final. Autolite California Nationals. It is for the bragging rights in the championship in Top Fuel Eliminator. Tim Richards directing his driver, Joe Amato, in another very short burnout. But don't be deceived. Amato runs very well when he does those short burnouts. His competition is Laurie Johns. Earlier, Steve Evans had a chance to talk to both crew chiefs in the final.
A lot of skill on this team, but a little quotient of luck today.
You always have to have luck in the deal. I mean, somewhere along the way, every winner can look back to a lucky part of that day. You know, we can look back to that first round. You don't really know what's going to happen when you change that many parts. I mean, you have to have the luck to win.
Laurie Johns also changing an engine.
Yeah, that team over there, they're all over the board. You never know what they're going to do. You do know that they're capable of going a 4-second time, so you have to tune to it.
Ronnie, obviously you're tired of being a runner-up. You're going for the throat with Amato.
Yeah, we're going to give it a shot here. We're putting fresh motor in it, fresh blowers. We made a little more power today, and it's driving through the clutch, so we're going to try and give it some more clutch and hope it doesn't smoke the tires. Hopefully it'll be an all-4 final.
What do you do about all of his Snoopy stuff?
Oh, well, tell Joe I'm a member of the Red Baron Fan Club.
Well, Steve, at least Ronnie Swearingen doesn't lose his sense of humor in the face of competition like the Team Valvoline car driven by Joe Amato. Amato has all 4-second elapsed times today, including low ET of the meet of 4:93. A tough hill to climb for Laurie Johns in the Jolly Rancher Candies car. A clean sweep of it, a 496 at 277 miles an hour. Laurie Johns close, but the 508 was a couple of car lengths back. Joe's wife, Jerry, getting the congratulations to crew, deservedly so, getting a round of applause and congratulations from everybody on the starting line. Laurie made a race of it till half-track, but then the Tim Richards horsepower took over. And Amato thundered past to the finish line with a substantial lead and yet another victory. Steve?
Joe Amato drove a flawless race, but Joe, I think this one will long be remembered as Tim Richards' finest hour, another 496 with another motor.
He's a genius, Steve. You know, what can I say? I mean, he just has a knack for these cars. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's almost like he lives with them. I mean, the motors and all. I mean, the crew, and he's got all them crew guys. I mean, they're all, like I said before, like brain surgeons. They just work flawlessly. You know, to put a motor in like that, and they have to change everything like we did the first round. I mean, every run, they run 4 4s here. You know, I'm just so happy. Plus, we got a good lead on the points here for Team Valvoline and Keystone Automotive and all the guys. And Fram and Autolite, they got about 1,500 customers here. Couldn't be more happier.
Great job.
Thank you very much. It was just more exciting. Snoopy and my 4-leaf clover and all my Snoopy pants are on, and you know all the stuff I got with me. But my team, I can't say enough about the team. They're just they're a killer team, and hopefully we can win the championship for them.
A victory that is doubly impressive for Amato. Not only 4 consecutive 4-second elapsed times, but he also made shambles of the Winston point standings, moving Prudhomme to second, Bernstein further away in third, Laurie Johns is in fourth, and Frank Hawley, number 5. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Sears Point International Raceway. The 1991 NHRA Autolite California Nationals has been brought to you by Autolite Spark Plugs. Guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Coverage of the NHRA California Nationals.